We have breaking news out of San Francisco as the 49ers have voided $26 million in guarantees to Brandon Aiyuk in 2026. Brandon Aiyuk's contract is essentially no more with the 49ers this season. He's under contract still, but the future looks very bleak for the former first-round draft pick in the red and gold. To break it all down with me is Dre from Dre Area Sports, and we're getting into it all today in regards to the timeline of things, what led to this, and what the future holds for San Francisco, Brandon Aiyuk, and the contractual and financial ramifications of this deal. But first, Dre, how you feeling? Brandon Aiyuk's contract is voided. How does that make you feel?
I think, at first I was shocked. I was like, wait, we just ended our stream and now something's happened, Brandon Aiyuk. That is the worst luck in the world. But then as I kept reading, kept watching streams, John Chapman, whoever went live, and learned more and more details, I was like, wow, Brandon Aiyuk is one weird fucking guy. The fact that they voided this contract back in training camp is shocking enough as it is. Watching Matt Mayoko's video and him breaking the news that this happened back in training camp, I'm like, this happened that long ago, yet we're just now learning about it?
Well, that's the thing, is that us as fans, and whether we're covering the team, we're just waiting to see what happens. We're all wondering, where's Brandon Aiyuk? He's may have been able to come back week 1, maybe week 6, week 10, week 12. We don't know. And I mean, you've talked plenty about getting Brandon Aiyuk back after the bye week and how his return could kind of help reinvigorate the offense and getting an all-pro talent back on the field. That's not going to happen. Brandon Aiyuk is not going to be a San Francisco 49er. You have seen the last of BA in the red and gold. And funny enough, this thing stems all the way back to contract negotiations in the summer of 2024, leading up to the 2024 NFL draft. Aiyuk wanted the new deal. Deebo Samuel still under contract. San Francisco had just lost the Super Bowl. Brandon Aiyuk has an amazing ladybug catch in the NFC title game to help propel San Francisco into that said Super Bowl. And it felt like a lock. You have to pay Brandon Aiyuk. He's your elite receiver, kind of blooming and growing in front of your eyes, and looks like what could be the next pure, great wide receiver of the San Francisco 49ers, the first great one since Terrell Owens in the early 2000s. And that potential legacy, that potential milestone is out the window. Brandon Aiyuk is not going to don the red and gold ever again. He's not going to come back this season. And what's crazy is they aren't even going to be able to trade him. The way this is set up, the way they have set things up, this is going to be a divorce that is ending in release at the end of the season. There is no draft picks coming back in return. This is right now a handshake agreement. See you later and best on your future endeavors. And I mean, from a fan standpoint, it sucks. I love Brandon Aiyuk. I love what he offered to the team when he was healthy. He was, when healthy, the best separating wide receiver in football. You saw what this offense looked like with BA.
Yeah.
But dare I say, Dre, this may be the best news of the season without the NFC wildcard picture in place. This is phenomenal news for San Francisco.
I really think so, because look, I mean, they were locked up under his contract. It was a bad contract. It was an awful contract that was costing the Niners a ton of money. And the fact that they even agreed to this contract sounds crazy. It just sounds crazy. I know the whole story about how, Shanahan was talking to Brandon Aiyuk. Brandon Aiyuk's like, yeah, you know what? I think I'll sign the contract. Wait, and he goes upstairs. Hey, he wants to resign. I don't think he went in and said, guys, stop. I think he went in and said, hey, he wants to sign. He wants to sign right now. What? And it's almost like they didn't even have the contract ready. They're like, okay, what do you want in the contract? Well, how about wait, a little bit of a little bit of that. Okay,
So it wasn't I think you should leave. Stop. I'm doing something. Something.
He was like, oh, okay, we can add that too. Yeah. Because this contract made 0 sense. Financially, it made no sense. It seemed like a contract where after 2 years, you were going to try to restructure the contract. That's what it
Yeah.
seemed like, based on how much money was being guaranteed to him, especially after next season. So, from a financial standpoint, I am stoked they got this deal done in terms of voiding this deal and saving the Niners a ton of cap money. I heard
Yeah.
I heard somewhere, and I could be wrong,
No,
that
I have it right here. I have it right here. San
okay,
Francisco is
how
off the
much
hook
are
for.
they saving? Because I've heard $84 million, but I
Okay,
don't know if
so
that was true.
they are saving and they're off the hook for 25 million dollars in 2026. That's a lot of money. That's an
$26
offensive
million
lineman.
dollars.
That's another receiver. That's only in
But
2026.
w- w-
In total, for the rest of his contract, they are off the hook for an $85 million.
And see, this is what I don't get. If you are Brandon Ayuk and you're trying to get your career back, you're trying to get back on the field, why would you agree to say, hey, look, just I'll forfeit my contract, void my contract. I'm not going to show up, void all my guarantees. I just want to be a free agent. To me, this makes zero sense. It makes no sense from a financial and from a player standpoint. Why would you
Yeah.
ever want to do this? Were you that eager to go join Jaden Daniels and the Commanders for a 1-year contract?
Well,
No one's going to give this guy a 4-year deal. Nobody's going to give him a 4-year
well,
deal. I'm sorry.
that's what's so confusing about this because Brandon Ayuk is, from what we can tell right now, not cleared to play. Now, he can think he's cleared to play. He can think he's going to come back and play. We don't know, but right now he's not cleared to play. San Francisco seems reluctant to activate him, whether it's because they want to avoid the risk of an injury and avoid the risk of having to deal with the contract stuff going forward. I don't know. But right now he can't play. And if you're a player that wants out of a situation during and in the midst of recovery of injury, would you not want to maintain the guaranteed money in your deal? Would you not want to guarantee yourself some sort of a financial recuperation, even if you're not playing?
Yeah.
And he's not doing that.
You'd want
That's what's
something.
confusing here. And I
Yeah.
think it all goes back to, and I think kind of diving into the nitty gritty here, is that, like I said earlier, this all goes back to last offseason when they were starting negotiations with Brandon Aiyuk before the draft. They were getting trade offers before the draft for him. Teams were calling, teams were asking, hey, what are you willing to accept in return for Brandon Aiyuk? And San Francisco said, nope, we're not doing it. Nope, we're not doing it. We want to bring Brandon Aiyuk back. And it all made sense. However, they waited and they sat on their hands, and the contract went up from $26 million to $28 million
It was
per
bad.
year to $30 million per year, which is where it ended. This is equally, maybe not equally, but this is a bad look on San Francisco's end. And somehow it is a way worse look on Brandon Aiyuk's end. And I never thought we'd say that. This had the makings of one of the worst contracts in San Francisco 49ers history.
It was pretty bad.
And they have finagled their way out of it because of the childlike and immaturity of what seemed to be an elite or at least all pro level wide receiver. And I think San Francisco deserves some blame here. I said it today on the Cover 3 podcast. I said it for a whole year. If you trade and you release Brandon Aiyuk within 1 year, you sign that extension, that's bad business. You cannot make a deal and immediately regret it to a point that you want out of it. And Nick Wagner reported today that San Francisco, had Aiyuk not gotten injured, they were trying to trade him. They would have traded him during the offseason. That's a terrible look for San Francisco's front
But
office.
why would you sign him to a contract and immediately go, oh man, this was a bad contract. We got to get out of this thing. It's kind of like, well, why'd you do it in the first place?
Exactly.
I want to know what the trade was to Pittsburgh, the one that they were working on.
It was reportedly, according to Mike Silver of The Athletic, it was Brandon Aiyuk, which he signed off on, going to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a second and third round draft pick last year.
Oh,
so
my
San Francisco would have had 13 draft picks in last year's draft.
They could have. Oh my God! They should have done it. That's crazy.
I mean, in retrospect, yes, and of course you weren't expecting
you weren't expecting him to come back and play as bad as he did and get his knee blown out. I mean,
right, like you were expecting San Francisco to be relatively, or the Niners to be healthy, or at least Ayuk to be healthy, and even if your team wasn't great, you're still going to have an elite receiver or a good receiver on the boundary playing your X spot in your offense. But it's crazy to think of how far the star of Brandon Aiyuk has fallen, because San Francisco deserves so much blame in this. The fact that they were already reluctant to make this deal and they signed it anyways, like they themselves shot themselves in the foot, sitting on their hands, waiting on the market to explode. Like San Francisco is not an innocent party in this, and I do not want that to be forgotten because Brandon Aiyuk looks so bad in the antics he's taken on over the last few months or so, and somehow San Francisco escapes kind of scot free. We're getting all this money back, and we're going to go all in next year in 2027. And it's like, wow, you got lucky because this was your own doing. You did this to
Yeah.
yourself,
Yeah.
and you got bailed out again. And with that said, I want to get into the Mike Silver article for a second, and hopefully you guys can see it on your screens on YouTube. You can see the big picture of
Yeah.
BA there, staring you right in the eyes. But this
My
is
thumbnail.
via this is via Diana Rossini and Mike Silver, and they said it point blank 15 months ago. Wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk of the San Francisco 49ers signs his 4-year, $120 million extension, and now the two sides appear to be headed towards a divorce. It does sound like he's played his last game in San Francisco, according to Mike Silver. Although there are some people inside the organization that are hoping for a reconciliation, that seems unlikely. However, and things get really dirty with timelines and it gets really muddy, but according to Mike Silver, Aiyuk has failed to attend meetings and declined to participate in other team activities in recent months, leading to San Francisco being frustrated with the receiver's lack of communication. And we'll get into a little bit more here in a second, but I want to kind of dive into the timeline of the Ayuk saga, because to me, that's like what's really important here. And I think it kind of paints a clearer picture as to what actually has happened in San Francisco. So Ayuk last year wants a new deal. He wants a new deal. He wants to get paid. San Francisco, like they always do, sits back and is like, we'll do it when on our own time. And it's rarely ever worked out in their favor, right? You saw him this offseason pay Warner, Purdy, and Kittle fairly quickly because the Ayuk deal backfired. Ayuk then begins his holdout, his hold in during the market exploding for wide receivers. He refuses to practice because he has quote unquote neck soreness and back soreness, which then leads San Francisco to finally entertain actual trade offers from opposing teams. Ayuk refuses deals to Cleveland and the Patriots. He says, no, I'm not going there. No, I'm not signing there.
Unbelievable.
And then San Francisco trying to force Ayuk onto the practice field. They medically clear him of neck and back soreness, kind of calling his bluff. That is when the Niners have a deal in place with the Pittsburgh Steelers last offseason for a second and third round draft pick. Ayuk and Shanahan then have a meeting in which Ayuk says, I will sign the contract. Shanahan races up the stairs, tells John Lynch, no, don't agree to that deal. He'll sign. Ayuk officially signs the deal in what every Niner fan, and I'm assuming the front office believes, was going to end the shenanigans and the saga. This is the end of all the BS for BA. The podcast stuff, the TMZ stuff, it's over. The contract is signed. We have our elite wide receiver back on the football field. However, somebody in that front office, whether it was John Lynch, whether it was Parag Marate, or Jed York, or some random, nerdy, pencil in the ear, calculator, whatever, saying, I hate this deal. I don't want to make this deal. And that right there was the beginning of the end. Because that right there was when San Francisco turned on Brandon Aiyuk inside the building. And I'm not saying they're wrong for doing so. I'm not saying they're not justified in what they believe is to be the truth. Because then Aiyuk gets back on the practice field. And what happens? Shanahan scolds Aiyuk for wearing the wrong shorts in practice. He throws somewhat of a tantrum, rips the pants off, what we now call hashtag Shortgate, which is just ridiculous in itself. But that's where things stood and the frustration levels rose to if you are the Niners and Kyle Shanahan. You're in training camp. You're in training camp. Ayuk comes out, he plays bad the first handful of weeks, and then he gets his knee blown out. His season's done. His career might be over. 2025 begins. San Francisco, terrible last season. They're in the offseason. They can make their 11 draft picks, and they're entering in the year not knowing when Brandon Aiyuk is going to return. And this is when the heat ramps up on BA and what is going to inevitably be the end of his tenure in San Francisco. 2025 training camp begins. We're getting reports from wide receiver coach Leonard Hankerson that Brandon Aiyuk is in team meetings and is helping young wide receivers, acting as some sort of player coach. Ricky Pearsall, Cowing, Watkins, he's in that room, what we're told, coaching and grooming up these young guys, helping to get the best out of them in training camp this year. He's seeing running routes during practice on the sideline. He's seen in the pregame of the Raiders Week 2 preseason game, Niners, Raiders at Allegiant Stadium, running routes and cutting against air. And we're all saying, oh my God, Brandon Aiyuk looks kind of ahead of schedule. He looks really healthy. Like, oh my goodness. Like, BA might come back by week 1. He might be back by week 6. BA looks like he's not too far away. That was the consensus takeaway from Brandon Aiyuk at that preseason week 2 game during the pregame warmups, looking like he wasn't too far off. From my understanding, Aiyuk believes he was healthy enough to return to play, but San Francisco, leery of a potential re-injuring of Brandon Aiyuk's knee, refuses to activate him in the hopes they could potentially trade him. That right there is what I believe to be the contention points between Aiyuk and the straw that broke the camel's back between San Francisco and Aiyuk. Because at that point in time, Aiyuk was present. At that point in time, he was coming to games. He was going to practice. He was making himself known. But when San Francisco refused to activate him and essentially told him, you're going to sit this one out, Chief, that is when Aiyuk took the turn towards the dark side. That's when he refused to attend team meetings. That's when he refused to go to other team activities. You can blame San Francisco, okay. You can blame Brandon Aiyuk, okay. But that right there is what ended the tenure. San Francisco refusing to activate or at least entertain the idea of activating Brandon Aiyuk at the time. Aiyuk then gets upset, refuses to do anything related to the team, which then San Francisco uses against him. They void the entire guarantees in 2026, which it does feel like, because when they void the guarantees, what does Aiyuk do? Okay, fine, cool, whatever. He doesn't even push back. He doesn't, and like, this is the big sticking point. If Aiyuk was in team meetings, was doing things the right way, and San Francisco was somehow sabotaging Brandon Aiyuk, he would have pushed back and told the NFLPA, file the grievance, I want my guaranteed money. That didn't happen. BA sat back and said, okay, fine, I'll go home and I'll see you never again. That's crazy, Dre. That is crazy. Aiyuk, he's admitting fault and saying, I'm good, losing money, wiping my guaranteed contract off the table as long as I can get away from you. It's like a divorce where the guy says, you can take the house, you can take the dog, you can take the kids, you can take the car. I want to wash my hands like Pontius Pilate with Jesus Christ. I don't want nothing to do with this ever again. That never happens.
Who does that? No, nobody does that. Nobody gives up money like that and just says, you know what? I'm going to take the high road and I'm going to bet on myself and I'm going to end up somewhere where I want to be. That's crazy. The only thing I can think of is that someone like Jaden Daniels was like, dude, if you're out there, we're going to come get you. I'll make sure they come and get you. There's some kind of reassurance that he's going to end up somewhere, that he's going to land on his feet. There's no way a player, anybody does this with no guarantees. Just a shot in the dark. Like, you know what? set me loose. I'll figure it out myself. Coming off of a catastrophic injury, it doesn't make any sense. And I've heard some say, well, maybe he's cooked. Maybe he really can't play anymore. Then he would have retired. You know what I mean? He wouldn't just say, I'm going to void my contract and get out of here. I firmly believe now, looking back at the draft, we saw how Shanahan and Lynch kept saying, well, the guy we wanted, he was out there. We almost made a trade to move up. And I'm glad we didn't because, we got a guy we wanted. But I firmly believe now they wanted to get Tet McMillan. I think that's the guy they wanted to get. That would have replaced Brandon Aiyuk. Then you would have had Tet McMillan and Ricky Pearsall.
It's not good business though. If you don't want Aiyuk and you don't want to sign the deal in the first place, then trade him two drafts ago.
They should have traded him. I agree. They should have traded him from the start. I mean, before he signed that contract, they were trying to trade him. They should have traded both him and Deebo Samuel in that offseason. And I think, look, I've heard even some of my friends saying, I'm done with John Lynch. John Lynch is bad at contracts. He's bad with, with the players. I think the Niners finally learned the hard way that you cannot hang on to players as long as you had, unless they're guys like George Kittle, Fred Warner, but Deebo and Aiyuk, those guys needed to go. After we lost the Super Bowl, they should have traded both those guys and rebuilt their receiving core. That's what they had to focus on last season, and they didn't do that.
What's the crazy thing is you go back and listen to those press conferences and you watch that Super Bowl, you can clearly see there's frustration in Kyle Shanahan's voice in his eyes of like, we can't separate. And that's frustrating because I had the quarterback. I had the offensive line. I had the defense. Like we had the Chiefs dead to rights. We just couldn't separate. And they go draft Pearsall. And in my mind, I'm like, they're going to trade Deebo Samuel on day 2 of the draft. That makes sense. He's older. He's banged up. It's jet sweeps or nothing else. He just isn't the same guy he used to be. And you have a healthy Brandon Aiyuk you're going to re-sign. But they kept everybody and still drafted Pearsall, which, again, that's not like the worst thing in the world. But in retrospect, it's like, the Niners deserve so much blame in the downfall of Brandon Aiyuk's relationship with the team. Well, like they created the mess. He just said, you brought the gasoline, I brought the matches. Let's go. And like, this is both sides deserve blame in this. Now, Aiyuk has escalated that to a point where San Francisco can kind of sit back and say, whew, you bailed us out big time, brother. Thank you for acting the way you are.
But it's crazy. It's almost like he was trying to do this as a good faith to the Niners because it's kind of like, who gives up that much money? He was just like, you know what? I don't get it. I don't get it.
But that to me tells me that he has no leg to stand on with filing a grievance. He's not in meetings. He's not in required parts of the offseason and in-season programs. He's not at practices.
But why would you do that though? Like why did he go that route and just completely just torpedo his contract?
That's the really confusing part because you would expect somebody that is injured on the shelf that, okay, like I want to make my guaranteed money while I rehab. And he'll do it this year for sure, but maybe next year, like his entire mindset seems to be get me as far away from San Francisco as humanly possible. And you know what's nuts? Is that it's crazy for somebody to act that way after getting nearly everything they asked for.
It's really weird.
Like he wanted $30 million a year. Okay, they balked. Then they gave it to him. They have given in to Brandon Aiyuk at almost every step of the way. And yet he repays them, albeit in this case, kind of kindly, in regards to freeing up some money. But it's like he repays them by saying, like, I don't want to be here anymore. Get me out of here. I think there is underlying tension still from the front office. He feels that from the way he acted, but also whoever, like, go back to this past offseason, before the draft. Tim Kawakami kept reporting over and over and over again that the front office hates this contract. They hate this deal. They wish they never made it. How do you think Brandon Aiyuk is supposed to feel hearing that every single day for an offseason? Now, maybe he isn't paying attention. I wouldn't blame him. But, like, when the front office tells you We agree to a contract. You sign the deal. You take a picture. Your wife is there. Your kids are there, and like, great. San Francisco is our new home or our home for the next 5 years or so. And the next day, it's like, God, what a mistake that was. It's like, oh, I thought it's like going on a first date thinking it's great. Like this is gonna be perfect.
But
The
here's
next
the
day,
thing,
and your
though.
your, your girl's like, that was
Like,
terrible.
look, like I get that, but if you're Brandon Ayuk and you're hearing the Irish saying, "Oh," or you're hearing grumblings of like, "Oh, we shouldn't have signed a contract. That was a bad contract." If I'm Brandon Ayuk, I'm like, guess what? You fucking signed it. That's your fucking fault. I'm
Yeah,
here. I'm gonna play. That's your problem now. You
yeah,
agreed to it. Sorry, but then guess what? He got hurt. But even then, while he was hurt, it's like you're still under contract. You could have taken your time. You could have
yeah,
you could have just reaped in all that money. But
yeah.
he
By
didn't.
doing nothing but rehabbing,
But he
working
didn't
out, which you
do
already
that.
do.
Why didn't he
Yeah.
do that? And so it starts to make me wonder, like, is this something that's more of like a what do you call it? Not good faith, but like is this like an integrity thing? Is he like, you know what?
Mm.
I don't deserve this. I'm not doing much.
I
It's
don't
just
think Brandon
I
Aiyuk.
don't get it.
I don't think
I
Brandon
mean,
Aiyuk
he's.
was on the Icebox YouTube channel paying for like 1,000 diamond necklaces. Is like, I don't deserve the money you're giving me.
I mean, look. Has he made a ton of money? Yes. He compared to what we're making, he's made a fuck ton of money.
Yeah.
But for him to walk away from all this money just to be just to get released at the end of the season is crazy. And I've seen people on Twitter saying trade him for AJ Brown, trade him. No one's trading anybody.
You also want two divas?
No, but it's like they can't even trade him. He's just gonna get released. And that's the thing, is that they don't retain, as far as I can tell, they don't retain any control over him other than we'll put you on IR, and then after this, your contract is voided, so you're a free agent.
But that's a crazy thing too, because like we're kind of getting to the point where it's almost as if he just wants out of San Francisco and will do
He
anything
does.
to do it. Like he'll do anything to get out of San Francisco, which kind of makes me think, if you want it out of San Francisco that bad, why did you say to Kyle, I'll sign the deal?
You could have been in Pittsburgh. You could have been in Cleveland. You could have been so many other places but here, and yet he chose to resign. It makes
Yeah.
zero sense.
Now,
Absolute zero sense.
to be fair, we do not know what the Steelers are offering or were offering him
This-
on a contract, but like this is why it doesn't make sense. You had one party in the San Francisco 49ers who reluctantly signed the deal, really didn't want to do it, and regretted it immediately after. You have Brandon Aiyuk, who I don't know if he wanted out, but had outs to not be in San Francisco the last offseason, 2 offseasons ago, and could have been traded elsewhere and got what he wanted and got paid by a different team and been the number one elsewhere. And maybe he would have got hurt still. I don't know. But then in the span of 15 months, it's gotten to a point where both parties regret the deal. Both, like, it's like when your girlfriend and like you move in together and you go, oh, everything's great, and then, like, you're like, oh my god, you're a slob, you're just disgusting, I can't do this anymore, and you're like, how did this relationship fall apart in 15 months? Now, Ayuk had semantics. San Francisco, the front office didn't want to do the deal in the first place, and I get that, but like, this is like we're witnessing something rather historical. This doesn't happen. You don't sign wide receivers to $30 million a year contracts and in just over a year say, get me out of it. Like, that doesn't happen usually.
But like, I mean, he literally set the stage for them to be able to
Yeah.
avoid his contract by not attending these team meetings and
Yeah.
these team, well, I don't, not activities, but
Yeah, their activities is fine. Yeah.
team activities. He literally set himself up for that. What's up, McMullough? He set himself up for that. So
Yeah.
it's kind of weird. Like, if you look at it that way, it's like he essentially self-sabotaged
Yeah.
his
yeah.
contract. And
That's what I
so
was going to say. Yeah.
is like his girlfriend or wife, or are they like, yeah, good idea? Or are they like, what are you
I don't
doing
know,
right
man.
now?
Like, it's, and like, you don't want to put blame on somebody else that doesn't seem to be involved in this. Like, I don't know Brandon Ayuk's girlfriend or wife.
No, I don't. But
Honestly,
I'm
I
just
don't
saying,
even
like
care.
anyone who's close to him would be like, bro,
Yeah.
what are you
Well,
doing?
so that is, I think, the other part of this. Of while you can blame San Francisco for their doing and the way they handled themselves, especially after the deal was signed, whoever is advising Brandon Ayuk, he needs to fire them immediately. If it's his agent, if it's which funny enough, his agent is like best friends with John Lynch. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Why this
He
thing
was
fell
like in his
apart that
wedding.
fast. Like it just doesn't it doesn't like the correlations are like this should have been perfect. This deal should have made sense from everybody. But whoever's advising Brandon Ayuk, if it's his agent, if it's TJ Houshmandzadeh, his wide receiver veteran mentor, I don't know, whoever it may be, like he needs to get away from them as soon as possible because they just told him to get rid of essentially all the guaranteed money on the contract you work hard for in the middle of recovering from not one, not two, but three torn knee ligaments in an offseason in which once you're released, you're not getting more than $15 million. Now, to us, that's a lot of money. But to a receiver like Brandon Ayuk, who is going to be 28 when the offseason ends next year, like, you don't think that guy views himself like you want to be in a 1 year prove it deal? At that point, you're just Odell Beckham Jr. playing for 1 year contracts over and over again because you keep tearing your ACL. You don't want to be that. You have a legacy you had in San Francisco. You had money on the table that can help set your family up, your wife up, your kid up, their kid up for generations. And now, look, he has plenty of money. Who we're talking about here, but this
Yeah.
is a destructive mindset from Brandon Ayuk, who walks away from $85 million because you don't want to play someplace.
It
You're
doesn't
not
make
getting
any
$85
sense.
million ever again, buddy. I'm sorry. And I love
Even
BA.
most people would have said, or most players would have said, okay, I'm in a rehab. I'm going to come back at the end of the season and play. And then after the season, I'm going to request a trade.
Yes.
And that's the common practice, not void my contract so I can be a free agent and sign for less money somewhere else. I'm telling you right now, nobody's going to offer him 4 years, $120 million. No one's going to do that. Nobody.
It's
And,
just,
and,
it's,
and the fact
man.
that it's been voided since training camp. That was months ago. So you're telling me for months he's been coming into the facility, working out before people get there. When players start to arrive, he's leaving. Hey, yo, what's up? And he leaves. Like,
Dude,
what?
Take it a step further. According to Mike Silver's reporting, there have been people on the coaching staff, on the team, teammates of his, and I'm assuming team leaders. I'm going to assume there again, it's Kittle, it's Brock Purdy. I don't know. That's the assumption, though. Ricky Pearsall, guys like that who you are hoping can be the cornerstone players going forward, saying, hey, Ayuk, come back to the team. They're wanting to bring him back into the fold and be a part of the roster at practices and whatnot again. And he's refusing to even respond to their text messages. Like, it just, I don't know.
None of this makes any sense. None of it makes any sense.
And I'm going to use a pretty bad comparison here, and it's not to compare it 1v1. That's really unfair. But this really is as close, like this is the biggest self-sabotaging I can remember since like Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. And Antonio Brown was far worse. Ayuk is not that bad. And Antonio Brown has done far worse things after retiring that will not be said on the show here. But this is like, I'm going to hold out for a season Le'Veon Bell style, lose not one step, not two steps, but three steps and hope I can get banked by the Jets the next offseason.
It doesn't make any sense,
And then fall into a crater because you can't stay healthy. Like it just doesn't, things don't add up.
It doesn't make any fucking sense. It doesn't. I mean, if you wanted out, you could have easily have said, hey, he could have went the same route and been like, hey, you know what? I don't feel right here. Just trade me. They could have traded him so many times. And yet.
Well, that's the crazy part. And I hate to interrupt you, and I'll
go ahead,
let you go.
Go ahead.
But you're talking about trading him. We just.
Can I finish? Can I? Or are you going to interrupt me?
We just reviewed the Tim Kawakami piece on the channel earlier this week of the San Francisco Standard. He even put in his piece There's $26 million that San Francisco can avoid in guarantees, which now has been voided. He didn't know that at the time, but has been voided for the last 4 months or so. That another team could have restructured his deal and fit it under their contract. Like Brandon Ayuk, while yes he'll be released and whatnot, he could have been easily traded, and it
Yes,
and, and it and it probably did.
easily.
And it probably could have been to a place of his liking. Now, maybe he wants to go to Washington, who's paying Terry McLaurin and pay Jane Daniels. That's my assumption. Ironically enough, he'll replace Debo Samuel there probably next year. But it wasn't like Brandon Ayuk's contract wasn't tradable. It was very tradable. It
It was
was
very
designed
tradable.
to be tradable by the Niners and Ayuk. But go on, Dre.
I have a feeling that the Raider game at
Mm.
Allegiant Stadium,
Yeah, yeah.
at Allegiant Stadium, when we saw him running on the field, and I think Brock Purdy was throwing him the pass, or somebody was, but I think that he did that because he knew his contract had already been voided.
Mm.
He knew that basically he was there on borrowed time. He was there just rehabbing with the team. The fact that he even came with the team is like, what are we doing here? But I think he was like, you know what? I'm going to go out in the field. I'm just going to go run a route. And I think the idea was that he was trying to tell everybody, like I'm almost ready to come back. And I think maybe he was trying to work something where they could trade him, but I don't know. Nothing came of it.
So, shall we put our tinfoil hats on for a second?
Yes, absolutely.
I will not do the Alex Jones impression. I will not complain about chemicals in the water turning frogs a certain sexuality, as he does sometimes on his show. But, uh, but I am of the belief that Brandon Ayuk has never been one to shy away from wanting the attention, and I don't blame him for this. But let's go with your thought that Ayuk had already had his contract voided at that point in time, week 2 of the preseason. And he went on the field pregame and caught a few passes, which I don't think you can legally do on the pup list.
can't.
That was
You cannot do
illegal
that.
of him. So he illegally went on the field and took a few practice reps from his quarterback, Brock Purdy, which you can't do. To me, that was a signal to other teams and to the NFL that I'm healthy enough to be out there and they won't activate me.
Yeah.
That was the bat signal, and nobody really paid attention. And then at that point in time, when no one saw it, that was his display. It wasn't on social media in regards to a post. He wasn't on YouTube. He wasn't on Instagram. He was LeBron James, 0 dark 30 in the playoffs. It was, I can run routes. I can practice. They won't activate me. That to me was the bat signal. And San Francisco said, we have plans for you, buddy, and you're not going to be on the team, and we're not going to risk you getting injured. Because if you get injured, well, then guess what? You're getting all that guaranteed money, and we don't want to deal with that. So I think that was his, again, if you want to get into conspiracies, I don't know how much credence there is to that or whatnot, but that to me doesn't kind of align with how things have worked, because we know now that the team won't activate him, and he thinks he's healthy enough to play. Like, there's a reason why he isn't attending games.
So do you think you're saying the team did not activate him because you think that they didn't want to guarantee, they didn't want to get to that guaranteed money?
They didn't want to risk him getting hurt again because they wanted to trade him. And then things happened, and then they voided the guarantees.
But they voided the guarantees in training camp. They didn't even give the guy a chance to come back and get trade value. They were just like, no.
I don't think they even wanted to risk him potentially raising trade value, because they knew if that knee has one tweak, just like Dre Greenlaw, albeit they didn't want to trade him, they wanted to bring him back. They knew if we have any chance of getting out of this deal, it's with Ayuk off the field, whether it's voiding guarantees or maybe trading him for what we can get for him in the offseason.
So by voiding his contract,
yeah.
I mean, obviously they knew this was coming.
Yeah.
And I guess if you look at their behavior and what they were doing with their money and their players and contracts. So, I mean, they knew early on before the season started that Brandon Aiyuk was going to be off the books.
Yeah.
But they let him still attend at the facility. They let him rehab there. Why? You would think they'd be like, hey, no, we're done. Just get lost.
Well, I mean, there's one thing of we're going to avoid your stuff. There's one thing of, we're not going to give you guarantees for whatever reason that may have been, which it seems like to lead to a divorce of some sort. Um, but it's different to say, hey, you can work out of the facility, you can rehab. And it was funny because Matt Mayoko today, which we love Matt. Matt's great, but on his YouTube channel, he talked about, the Niners are not, they aren't against the idea of Brandon Aiyuk coming back. And I was like, oh, buddy, I got a story to tell you.
Yeah, I
He's
mean,
not coming back for you, man. And I'm pretty sure under the CBA, they have to let Aiyuk train at the facility for free, essentially.
so okay, let's say that under the CBA they have to, right?
Yeah.
And Ayuk continued to show up there and use the facility when he could have just said, you know what, you voided my contract. I'm gonna just go rehab on my own. I can afford it. I'm out of here. He's decided to stay there and use the training staff, and so
I don't know, man.
it's like that
that's like-
meme. That
but
meme
that's
of,
like asking
of
somebody, like-
Beetlejuice. You know that meme where he's like, "What are you doing? Me? Huh. Just hanging around."
Yeah.
It was like that's what he was doing. I'm just hanging around, stretching my leg out because it just
That's like asking someone like, "Hey, do you want to work out at your high school gym or go play $10 for Planet Fitness?"
But
I'm gonna
that's like
go work at the
saying-
high school gym.
I know, but like that's like being at a job and you essentially get fired. But they're like, I mean, if you want to come back and hang out with the coworkers, you can. And he still came back and hung out with the coworkers at work. It's just like, dude, get out of here. Like,
I mean, I
you're
guess
off
if it's
the hook.
beneficial, but if it's beneficial for you to come back,
I
and
mean, maybe,
rehab
but-
and work under the guise of team doctors and whatnot, like, I don't know,
but
like,
literally, he was at the facility
still is.
and they all knew that his contract had been voided. He's no longer going to be a Niner after this season.
Take it a step further. He's still showing up now in the mornings, not every day, but he's still coming to the facility in the mornings.
That's
and avoiding his
crazy.
teammates
That
and
makes
working
no
out.
sense. That's like breaking up with a girl and she shows up at your house in the morning before you wake up and makes coffee, then leaves. Like, what?
Dude,
What?
you could
What are we
take- you could
doing here?
take
I
it
know
a
you
step
on the
further.
lease. You know what I mean?
Right. It's like, hey, we have a lease agreement here, and I can't move out until it's over with. That's kind of the Brandon Aiyuk thing of like, I have to rent this space until the off season when you can let me go.
What a disaster of a situation this has turned out to be. Now, look, I'm very excited. The Niners just recouped $84 million of salary cap by voiding his contract
over the
Now-
next 3 years.
over the next 3 years. Now, here's the thing, though, is that, like we said before, Brandon Aiyuk set this all in motion. Brandon Aiyuk was the one that didn't attend team meetings, that didn't attend team activities. And was he keeping track of that? I don't know. But the Niners were keeping track of that. And at one point, they must have came to him and said, hey, if you do not change your act, then we're going to void your contract. Who knows? Who knows how it all came up? Or do they ambush him and say, hey, you didn't show up to this. You didn't. These are all the times you did not show up to these team activities and team meetings. Your contract is void.
I think it's more along the lines of we hate this deal, and the minute BA messes up, we're going to look for a reason to void it. And I don't know if that's corporate greed or
But that's what
venture
I'm saying.
capitalist, but like that feels like what happened.
Do you think that BA was aware of it, or do you think that BA was caught off guard? Like, hey, by the way, you did this. You're void. Your contract's voided. I mean, obviously they went through his agent. And his agent was like, they just voided the contract. But you think if they did that, he would have made a huge stink about it. He would have been on social media like, oh, I'll be getting fucked over.
Yeah,
And then-
but
then
that's
you-
the thing is though, like he can't do that because he's not coming to team meetings. That's why his contract got voided. It wasn't
But-
like it wasn't voided. Then he started missing meetings.
No,
He
exactly.
he was missing meetings. Then they voided it, and so he has no leg to stand on like
But
with
then
the NFLPA or a grievance.
What's crazy is that you started getting all these reports that, oh, he's been working with the young receivers. He's been like a coach for them. And it's just like, what? None of this stuff makes any sense.
Nope.
It's so conspiracy theory.
Something happened in the preseason. That's the last time
In
we
the
actually saw
preseason.
him. That I'm telling you that preseason week 2 game against the Raiders is the last time we saw Brandon Aiyuk. Ask yourself whether you're at home watching on YouTube or listening on the audio podcasting platforms over the weekend, enjoying hopeful Monday Night Football, Niners Panthers. What transpired between week 1 of the preseason and week 3 of the preseason? That's the last time you saw BA. That's the last time you saw BA. Like, why? Something transpired in between those dates.
You
I
know,
will stand on my soapbox and say, I think the Niners told him, we are not going to activate you. Get over it. That made him angry, as it would for anybody, because he signed a deal. He's hurt, and I'm sure he wants to come back. And the minute they said, sorry, bud, sit this one out, he was like, fine, I'm not doing anything. Like, you're not even going to allow me to get healthy and maybe get back on the field. Fine, I don't play for you anymore. Void the guarantees. I don't care. We're not in a partnership. I want out of
uh,
here.
okay, so when you look at, okay, let's see, can we do this here? I don't know.
Oh,
Um,
share screen.
well, hold on. Let's look at it this way. I don't even know if I'm logged
While
into the right account.
while you look up, I want to read a comment by Robbie
Go ahead. Go ahead.
43932. He says, guys, I don't think it's that complicated. Ayuk acted like a dick 14 seconds after the Super Bowl and never stopped being a dick, even after they gave him the bag. He never wanted to be here. Bye, Felicia. I don't know if that's the case though. Like, I know after the Super Bowl, his like brother or friend posted on social media, that's why we're leaving San Francisco. His partner kind of posted the same thing and whatnot. But like, if you never wanted to be in San Francisco, why did you sign the contract in San Francisco? It
Yeah.
wasn't like there wasn't outs. There were outs all over the place. Cleveland, New England, which I mean, right now, you can't tell me Brandon Ayuk doesn't regret not going to New England. You get Drake May and Stephon Diggs and Brandon Ayuk and Traven Henderson. Oh my God, they're probably undefeated right now. Granted, he's injured, but still, like that's a darn good team out there in New England. So I don't know. I don't know.
Well, okay, so a lot of his posts on Instagram are all gone now,
Yeah,
so you can't even see him. But
scrolling.
yeah, but there were a number of posts. There was a post on Instagram where it was right before the season started. He was in I think the Bahamas or somewhere tropical, and he was standing next to a pool and he was dancing.
Okay.
And then he dives in the pool. And I
Okay.
remember thinking, I was like, what a weird video to post. And I remember it was a week before the start of the regular season.
Okay.
And he's standing on the edge of a pool dancing to some to just he has his back to the camera and he's dancing. And then he just dives in. And so if you read the tea leaves, it's kind of like at that point he already knew they were
Yeah.
voiding his contract. And he
Maybe.
posted that like as if he didn't give a shit. Like, I'm fine where I'm at. I'm good. I'm going to go jump in the pool now.
Let's
Because
see if we
why
can
would
find
you
it.
be on? I remember it was the week before. So it was 2 weeks before the regular season. So it was a week
Hold
leading up
on.
to,
Hold on. Hold on.
you know what I'm talking about?
I think there's a photo here on well, this is June 25th. I don't know if that's accurate. Let's go back. Continue talking. Vamp for me if you can.
And so, like, he does that. There's a bunch of different posts where he would say random weird shit or he'd be quoting music. And it makes you wonder if he was sort of cryptically saying stuff, to the media. Like, because I mean, now he's putting across the kind of feeling where he's like, I'm being held hostage here. You know what I mean? And I agree.
I do
The
think you have
route
the
he
timelines a
ran.
little mixed up there because that post was made on June 27th.
Which one? The
So
pool one?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, you know what it was? It was leading up to training camp. That's what it was.
Okay, okay.
So I remember I was like, that's the week before training camp, because I think training camp started on like the beginning of August.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, I was like, so while they're getting ready, he's at a pool
Well,
just
he
messing
can't
around.
do much. He's like 5 months removed from 3 ligament surgeries and whatnot. But I don't know. It just like as a fan, I hate it because it's a big money contract. They don't have a number like, and maybe that's where this conversation shifts because San Francisco now, once they get rid of Brandon Ayuk, where do they pivot? Because the odds would say Juwan Jennings probably isn't coming back either. And so you're left in that room, barring something insane happening, with Ricky Pearsall, who I like a lot, but he'd been out for a couple weeks this year and missed a lot of last season for obvious reasons, but hasn't really cemented himself as a legit number one wide receiver. Demarcus Robinson's there, who I think will be better with Brock Purdy playing quarterback, knowing he pushes the ball down the field. Then you have Jacob Cowing, who is as unproven can be. You have Jordan Watkins, who I do like a lot as a prospect, but again, hasn't proven much. That's four guys. Sky Moore is a punt returner. You don't need to bring him back. You may or may not re-sign Kendrick Bourne. Like, they're walking into next year with four wide receivers essentially under contract.
Mm-hmm.
And none of those guys are like legitimate number one wide receivers. And the guy that you would kind of peg to be the top dog in that room, being Pearsall, he's missed most of the last two seasons with a bullet wound and a jacked up knee. Now, I think you'll see Pearsall blossom at the end of year two, like the end of year one, but like, where does San Francisco pivot? And I'm going to go on a limb here. That first round draft pick, it's going to be wide receiver.
Yeah, absolutely. First round draft pick has to be a receiver. And I haven't done any of my research yet on any of the draft picks coming up, but I can guarantee you it's going to be a receiver. It has to be. You want to get a first round receiver to complement Ricky Pearsall, and they're both coming in at cheap. You're not paying them a ton of money because Pearsall's on his third year. This guy will be on his rookie year, his first year of his 4-year contract. So, yeah, I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to draft a young stud, hopefully a stud receiver.
Yeah.
Wherever they get around the 22nd, 20.
Funny enough,
pick.
you can replace one Arizona State wide receiver with another if he happens to fall to you. That being Jordan Tyson from Arizona State. There's guys like Mekhi Lemon, who I don't know if he'll come out, but we'll see. You have Chris Brazzell II from Tennessee. You have Carnell Tate, who I just am in love with at Ohio State. I think San Francisco, he'll probably go in top 10, top 15. But man, like, I don't know, man. Like, really, like the Niners, they got to get a receiver.
They got to get a receiver, but this is a huge break for San Francisco to know that for months they've been out from under Brandon Aiyuk's contract. How many streams have we done where we talked about, man, this offseason, they're going to try to get out from underneath Brandon Aiyuk's contract. They may try to trade him. They may try to move him. They were already out from underneath the contract. Every time the media would ask them, is Brandon Aiyuk coming back? Are you going to open his practice window? Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Everything they were telling us was a lie. Well, I mean, to an extent, no, not this week. He will. He will hopefully soon, but not this week. And they already knew he's not going to come back.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know. San Francisco has lied. Maybe I'm wrong, and correct me, but didn't Kyle bring up Brandon Aiyuk without even being asked about him? Like, why would you do that if you knew the contract was voided?
I don't know.
Maybe this stems all the way back into the Mike Silver reporting of people in the front office, in the building, whether it's front office, players, coach, I don't know. But people in the building believe or are hoping the relationship can be reconciled. Do you think the one guy that is really hoping to reconcile the relationship, it's got to be Kyle Shanahan? Because one, he looks terrible now. He advocated for this. He essentially saved Brandon Aiyuk and put San Francisco in this hole of re-signing him to a big deal, and now somehow they got out of it. But like, Shanahan has to be the guy. He drafted Brandon Aiyuk in the first round in 2020. He helped get Aiyuk paid. Like this is like Shanahan's got to be the guy wanting it.
He's got to be the one. Now look at this. This is from 957 The Game. Brandon Aiyuk is getting good work today. Look at the date on this. September 11th.
Okay, dude. Jeez. God.
But you know what I mean? It makes this makes all the sense in the world. We would see these videos and we'd wonder, well, he looks like he's ready to come back. And then not only that, but we heard John Lynch make the comment that, hey, you know what? We're not even ruling out the chance that he could come back week 1. Remember when he said that?
I never bought that, but yeah, I heard it.
I never bought it either. But remember when he said that?
Yeah, yeah.
He did say that. And I think when you look at what Aiyuk was doing on September 11th, you could argue he may have been able to come back much earlier than we first thought. Now, I'm not saying week 1, but I think they saw the progress he was making. And then something happened. Something went down where they said, you know what? We're done. And maybe it was, I mean, it has to be a legitimate reason. Like the non-attending the meetings and team activities, those have to be documented and be legitimate reasons for them to be able to do that. Otherwise, they're going to lose that in court.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes it pretty much. Did John Lynch say Aiyuk could be back by week 1?
I
Or was
think
that Mayoko?
somebody had asked him.
That was Mayoko.
No, I remember him saying it. I remember they asked him, because there was a report that he could come back by week 1, and I think Mayoko. I think they may have asked him, said, "Hey, what do you say to reports that? Hey, we're not ruling that out." But okay. It was something to that extent. So it was like, wait a minute, what? But look, at the end of the day,
that jogging isn't really an indication.
Well, he's still making cuts, but I mean.
Don't get into a Grant Cohn, Ricky Pearsall shooting hoop situation here.
No, I don't know about that. I'm just saying, like, when you start connecting the dots and learning now that his contract was voided.
Yeah.
And he was literally doing these reps, doing this jogging, out there with them early on because he was trying to rehab, knowing that his contract was already voided. It's actually really sad to know that, like, all this while we're watching this thinking like, oh, he might come back. This is going to be great. I can't wait for him to come back. He was never going to come back. The Niners knew that. He knew that. And neither one of them, neither side decided to share that information whatsoever. If they would have shared that early on, that would have changed everything. He would have got traded.
Not during the year. No, not during the year.
You don't think so?
No. The contract I don't think was tradable this year. During this upcoming offseason, yes. And I think that was San Francisco's intention. I don't think San Francisco wanted this out. I truly don't. Now, I don't know who leaked it. Obviously, somebody did in the room. And clearly, there is somebody in San Francisco letting it go. But I don't know, man. Like, it's so hard to wrap my mind around this debacle, this like crumbling of what looked to be like one of the best, not contracts in football, but it just looked like, man, like Aiyuk looks so good and he signed the deal and the hopes were high and the injury obviously ruined things and whatnot. And his antics ruined things, but like Aiyuk has been really quiet. And to your point, and although I don't think he has, much of a leg to stand on, like I've already said plenty of times today in regards to a grievance against San Francisco avoiding his guaranteed money, but like Aiyuk was really loud during the negotiation period because he had some leverage, obviously, over San Francisco. But it's like now you can complain and say whatever you want, knowing you're not going to be there next year. What are they going to do? Unvoid your contract? Speak your mind, dude.
Now Robbie 43932 is saying that I don't believe his contract was void in training camp. That's from Mayoko, who never breaks shit. Now,
I like
that was the part that seemed weird. When he said it was actually voided back in training camp, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
That just made everything weird. It was like, whoa,
because
what?
Why would Aiyuk show up on September 11th, 4 days after San Francisco's Week 1 opener against the Seahawks at practice and work out with the team? That didn't make sense.
I mean, maybe we're not players, so maybe he's like, I'm gonna go work out with my friends. I don't know, but then the media's like, oh, he's coming back, and he's like, oh, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. It's just weird. The whole thing is weird. These people are weird. Players are weird. Kevin Durant, he's weird. Remember Durant when the Warriors got him? He ended up being an oddball. He would like get in fights with people on social media. It was like, what are you doing, dude?
What's worse, Kevin Durant's social media presence or JJ McCarthy's nickname of 9? His alter ego.
7 of 9. Okay, so look, before we go any further, I just want to say I do appreciate everything that Brandon Aiyuk has done for the
Yes.
49ers. He was a
Yes.
good, really, really good receiver for the Niners. I don't want to say he was a great receiver, but he was a really good receiver.
Could have
Had
been great.
back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons.
Yeah.
He had I think he had a career high 8 touchdowns in 2022. Really was a go-to target for Brock Purdy and really helped develop him and bring him along. So I do thank him for all the things that he did for the Niners in a positive way. But the moment the Super Bowl ended, it just never felt the same. That when he finally came back to the field, it didn't feel the same. It just felt like he was lost. And then he got hurt, and now we're here. And
Is this another example of money going to people's head?
I think so.
Because, but like, so you can say that in regards to the negotiations of the initial contract, but like, then he's giving up all the money afterwards.
But that's the thing is that I think
Like he's undoing the contract basically.
the antics, the negotiations, I think all of that got to him, and then him coming back, him dropping the touchdown that Brock Purdy threw a dime
against the Jets week one.
against the Jets. I
That was a
think
tough
that
play.
what's that?
It was a tough play. He was diving.
It was a tough play, but there was so much built up to that moment that if he would have caught that, everyone would have been like, dude, next coming of Jerry Rice. This guy's amazing. No, he dropped it. And then it seemed like that got into his head. Fans started, turning against him. Fans started talking shit about his production.
Yeah.
And I think all of that kind of snowballed for this guy. And I think the money and the pressure and the fame kind of got to him. And then his knee got blown out. And then came all the talk about they really don't want this contract. They really want to get out from this contract. You got people like us saying, they're probably going to trade him. I think they should trade him. They should probably trade him. And I think all of that just really, really got to him. And it caused him to just be or just show a really weird side of himself. And I think that, sometimes when guys get money and fame and they just act differently, and certain guys, act like they always have. I mean, but even like guys like Deebo Samuel, you saw him start to trip out last season.
Well, that was going to be my next question, is that the Niners have signed 2 wide receivers to big money deals. Neither has panned out. Deebo Samuel didn't work. I know he had a big 2021, and that wasn't when he was under contract yet. They've given 2 guys big deals. Deebo Samuel had hits and misses, had a really bad final year of that deal in San Francisco, that being 2024, led to his release, or his trade, to the Washington Commanders. And Aiyuk didn't even last 8 games, and you're never going to see him again.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that this, because you've seen San Francisco, whether right or wrong, have like emotional, like their minds will change after being burnt too many times. You saw it with the defensive line. You've seen it with draft picks, other things too. Like the Niners wouldn't even draft Alabama players. It took them 17 to like 2023, where Reuben Foster goes in the first round. They believe the advocation, if that's even an actual word, from Nick Saban out there at Bama. They draft Reuben Foster. That dude's committing DV all over the place. He did not, he gets cut after a few years. They don't draft another Crimson Tide player until 2023. I think it was Cam Lawton. Now, that didn't work out in its own right, but still.
No.
Like, they have been, the front office, Kyle, they've been burned, and it makes them terrified to do it again, and it takes them a long time to do it again. I do wonder that this may almost scare them away from signing, which in this case, probably Juwan Jennings and maybe even Ricky Pearsall, to big contracts in the future. Like, I think you may see Kyle almost go to we're going to draft the first-time wide receiver, the next couple seasons, and just not sign any of these guys to big-name deals. Like, I don't think that's not, like, that to me feels like a possibility, that they've been burned twice, and they're not going to do it. Why are you laughing?
I'll show you. I don't think they will do this again. I think when Pearsall's contract is up, they'll just say
goodbye.
If you don't sign for what we want, then we'll take draft pick compensation and we'll find somebody else. Um,
And that's barring Pearsall winning a massive record-setting contract.
yeah,
Like,
no,
if he doesn't get that, then whatever.
this is what I was laughing at. This is like the three-headed contract monster of Bay Area sports.
Not Tom Murphy.
Tom Murphy, the guy they signed who never even played.
Man, wow.
Kaminga and Brandon Aiyuk. Oh my
It's
god.
true. It's true, man.
It's
Wow.
the three-headed monster where it's like, oh my gosh. Okay, so let me ask you this. You know, now that we know that Brandon Aiyuk is gone, right?
Yeah.
He's not going to be coming back. He's not going to play the final few games of the season. Why on earth would he do that at this point? There is no point. Imagine if you for Matt Aiyuk to even say he may come back.
He runs out with the American flag, Aaron Rodgers.
Why would he come back? Why would he risk injury and be like, yeah, I want to play and show that I still got it? No, at this point,
he should run out donning the Rob Lowe NFL shield cap. Like,
yes.
No Niners logos on, just the NFL shield, NFL flag. No, like.
So we know he's gone now.
Affiliate.
We know that Brandon Aiyuk will be gone. He will not be here next season. Likely to be released at the end of the NFL season.
Yeah.
I do believe that they will draft a receiver because they want, or if not in the first round, in the second round, because they want their next receiver to be on a rookie contract
and I think, playable from day one.
Yes. And to be fair, Ricky Pearsall was playable on day one. That was why they drafted him, because he was a polished, ready to go plug and play receiver until he got shot. Nobody could have predicted that. I mean, come on. We've talked a little bit about where he may end up. We said Washington. I've seen others say the Rams. I've seen others say the Cardinals. I don't say that either. I think he has to go somewhere where he's not. Well, I guess I could see the Rams in a sense where he's there because he's the number 2 option. He's not the number 1 option because, I mean, frankly, how can he can't go somewhere expecting to be the number 1 option after not playing for basically a year and a half. There's no way.
Why would the Rams sign Brandon Aiyuk when they still have Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, he would be a role player.
He's the third option. The third option.
The third option. So I think that, obviously Deebo Samuel won't be back with Washington. They'd be crazy to re-sign that guy. He could go there with Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels could vouch for him. And who knows, giving up all this fucking money, he might say, hey, I'll sign a 1-year deal. I don't care.
But, okay, so that right there, though, like, and this may be what this is all about. The way that Aiyuk is so willing to let go of the guaranteed money, I think he still believes he can be a number 1 wide receiver somewhere. And I think he believes that he doesn't have to hit the field to prove to somebody else he can get big money. Now, I think his next contract will be an incentive-based deal. If he plays great, here's big money, and we can kind of revisit things as the year progresses in 2026 with his new team. But, like, I think he's okay letting go of money because he believes he'll get paid another big contract somewhere else. Like, that to me feels like what BA believes. And you want to bet on yourself? Fine. I'm not going to lie. I think it's a big gamble. It's probably not going to pay off.
No.
So, like the Commanders aren't paying him big money. They just paid McLaurin big money. Yeah. That defense is in shambles. They're terrible.
That whole team is in shambles. Now, and then you got Jaden Daniels, who got his arm turned backwards. It was like, oh.
Yeah.
And somehow his season isn't over, which, thankfully for him. Miami, as my Uncle Ponch says, Miami could be a spot.
But they're paying Hill and they're paying Waddle.
So, well, that's the thing. Wherever he goes, he's not going to be paid top dollar.
Yeah.
So he's going somewhere on a prove-it contract. I can't see another NFL team giving him anything more than a 2-year deal.
Hear me out. Hear me out here.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. What if Kubiak in Seattle leaves for Buffalo? Because they're going to fire Sean McDermott. If they don't go to the Super Bowl, they're going to fire McDermott. If they don't, they're idiots and they should. What if Kubiak from Seattle goes to Buffalo as their head coach? Keon Coleman is a disaster. He's a healthy scratch. He's missing team meetings. They need a wide receiver big time. They tried to get Antonio Brown. That deal fell through. He refused to go there a couple of years back before he went to the Raiders. Stephon Diggs is gone. They don't have anybody. It's like Shavers and Shakur, and that's it. And those guys are not number 1s. What if Brandon Aiyuk and Josh Allen team up? What if, and hear me out here, it wouldn't be the first time this happens. What if Brandon Ayuk joins Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City?
I mean, it could be
Like
because that's a
those feel
team.
really likely.
That's a team that would be like, "Hey, we'll give you a 1-year deal," and he'd probably be like, "All right, let's go." Because there's certain teams that you would accept a 1-year prove it deal when you
Yeah.
know you have a shot at the postseason and a Super Bowl. The
Well,
Chiefs is one of them.
top of
The
that,
Bills is another one.
give me an elite quarterback I can pair myself up with too.
Or I mean, you want to go that route? Well, why not Baltimore?
Oh god, that'd be really fun.
Have him with Lamar
Lamar and
Jackson,
Brandon Ayuk and Zay Flowers would be
Zay
really
Flowers, and Travis Henry. I mean, that's a lot. So
No, Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry, who's Travis
Not
Henry? Oh, that's
Travis
that's the
Henry.
Buffalo running back. That guy sucked. But Derrick Henry,
He was good in Denver for a couple of
yeah, a
years.
little bit. The Raiders is an obvious
okay,
one, right? The Raiders, fuck the
no.
Raiders.
No,
Who's
no,
gonna throw the
that's-
ball?
No, that's funny because I believe on the post of whether it was his brother or his friend, he mentioned wanting to go to Las Vegas. Now, the Raiders may fire Pete Carroll. Who knows? You give an offense Brock Bowers, Ashton Genty, or recovering Brandon Ayuk and you, Geno Smith, maybe, but you have an actual like competent under the age of senior citizenship head coach. Like that could make some sense. I don't love that for Ayuk, and I would hate it for the Raider fans, but like I could see Ayuk wanting to go to Vegas. He's an Arizona guy, went to Arizona State. You want to be in the desert somewhere, go play for the Raiders indoors. I don't think that's off the table. I really don't. But also, why would you want to play Mahomes twice a year and get boat race twice?
Yeah, no, I mean, either way, he's gone. Okay,
Yeah.
so we talked about where he could go. The Niners, we both feel will draft a receiver in the first round.
Or at
But
least round
with-
1 or 2, yeah.
With Brandon Ayuk now publicly known to be off the books, does this lend credence to why Juwan Jennings was attempting to hold out to get more money? Was he privy to the fact that his contract was void? And so he was like, hey, y'all got the money. But regardless of that, so think on that. But regardless of that, does San Francisco offer Juwan Jennings a contract? May it be 4 years, may it be 2 years. Do they offer him a type of contract because they know they're not paying for Brandon Ayuk's massive deal anymore, and they can get him for half the price?
I don't think Juwan Jennings is coming back, even if Brandon Ayuk never existed.
Yeah.
I think JJ's gone. I think that not just like where the Ayuk stuff is like unreconcilable. I think San Francisco could actually come back to the table and talk to Juwan Jennings. I just think that comes down to money and being priced out. Now, I don't think JJ's getting some massive, $30 million a year deal, but even if you broach $15 million per year, I don't think San Francisco would do that. Now, I would love JJ back. He's a great player when he's healthy. He's a dog. He's a great blocker. And, maybe San Francisco, knowing JJ hasn't had the greatest season, can maybe work that deal down. I don't know. I just don't think that's likely. However, I also don't think Juwan Jennings was privy to anything, because from the way I believe it was Matt Mayoko talked as to why this did not come out sooner was because this was between the player, the team, and the agent. One of those parties leaked this. One of them did. And I don't know if Brandon Ayuk's agent has posted things about Ayuk in a long time. Maybe it was him. Maybe it was BA. Maybe it was San Francisco.
I think the Niners are the ones who leaked this because they were tired of having to dance around this topic and having to fucking lie about it and say, not this week.
Okay.
Not this week. They said, you know what? Just put that shit out there. I'm done with this.
Let's do some prediction, because this comes out at the worst time for San Francisco. Not only is it in the middle of the season, which is never a good thing, because they didn't really want it to happen until now, and maybe ever, for all we know, but this may be the worst week this comes out, because this is a Monday Night Football week, and all your media press conferences are pushed back a day. So Shanahan talks tomorrow. Like, he's going to get questioned about it tomorrow, Kyle does
most of
not want to talk about this.
most of his press conferences are around 7 to 8 minutes, sometimes 9. They're not going to let up on him. They're going to want to know as many answers as possible about what
Yeah.
happened with Brandon Aiyuk. I can see them saying, "Why did you guys keep this a secret for so long?" And he'll
Do
probably
you think
say
any
it was between us and the
is is anybody in the room gonna actually ask that? Well, I mean, somebody might answer.
well,
Might
they
ask
got
the
to
question.
be careful too, because if they go a little too hard, the Niners will push back on telling them, "Hey, you got to calm down." But here's the thing: it's not like the NBA. The NBA, you can't go in there and just unload on somebody. Like you can't go in there and just go ham on questions.
Yeah.
But the NFL, you can. So I think someone's going to ask that question of why was this kept from the media for so long?
But someone in the room, and I think the Niner media gets a pretty bad rap. I think they do a fairly good job,
Mm-hmm.
but um, I just like someone has to press them on this. Like and the question is pretty simple. Hey Kyle, we got a report yesterday via Mike Silver of the Athletic that the Niners avoided Brandon Aiyuk's guarantees in 2026. Can you just walk us through the process as to how you sign a contract of a guy for $30 million a year 2 years ago, and in 15 months he's not going to be here anymore? Like what leads to that? Because it is like from the outside, like the optics don't look good.
There it
And
is.
like that's not what you want. And like that's gonna get some eyes, gonna get some ears, but like at some point there has to be a point blank question of like,
You know,
how did you mess this up?
I think or Robbie has a point. I mean, maybe the agent did leak this because what did we know about this? We know that it happened during training camp, although that came out later on. The initial report didn't have anything to do with training camp. It just said his contract was voided. And also,
And Ayuk was showing up at their training camp.
but the article also stated that Brandon Aiyuk did not file a grievance with the NFL Player Association, that he
Yeah.
allowed this to happen. And to me, when you read it from that point of view, it sounds like the agent put that out there saying, "Hey,
Hmm.
our Brandon Aiyuk let this happen. Like he's the one in control of this, not them." And so it seems kind of like, okay, maybe the agent leaked this out. Maybe the agent wanted to put this out there before the Niners released it, saying, spinning it as if he quit on them or he didn't show up, or so it's a little weird the way it was worded and the way it was released. But then it was afterwards, I learned about it on Matt Mayoko's video
Yeah.
when he said, "My sources told me that this happened during training camp." And that could be the organization saying, "Hey, it actually happened during training camp." But who knows?
Okay, so but what seems like the catalyst for voiding the guarantees for Ayuk was him refusing to take part in meetings and team activities. We just showed a video. Now that was one day of him on September 11th, 4 days after the season opener at training camp, like on the sideline running routes. Again, that's one day. It's an 11-second clip. I don't know. Clearly, he was there for some sort of the day during team activities. So he's there 4 days after a season opener, and all of a sudden, it's like, no, 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 no. Like, this to me makes it feel like as if the problems began during training camp and the voiding happened afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Of like, whether it was preseason week 2, maybe that was the case because training camp really stops at preseason week 1
Yeah,
because fans aren't there anymore. So maybe that's what they mean.
I,
But I don't. I
I
don't think.
think
I don't think they voided it during training camp because Ayuk was there almost every single day.
it does
He's,
seem like after week 1 of the preseason, that's when all the dominoes fell, and then
yeah,
that's when
yeah,
we saw Ayuk on the field running a route.
yeah,
And like you
yeah.
were saying, he was trying to show everybody, like, look, I'm healthy enough to play. If not, I'm almost there. And they had no intention of ever playing him
Well,
this
and
season.
and Calachipto's right. It can't be a one-off thing. There has to be a pattern. And clearly, Ayuk showed some sort of pattern of not showing up.
Yeah.
And that's the bare minimum. You want guaranteed money, just show up. You see it all the time. Trent Williams, when he wants a new contract, I'm not going to come until I get my money. Nick Bosa, right? I'm not going to come until I get my money. And like you see those guys lose some money, the Niners quote unquote find them to get to, hopefully getting them to return. But like, I don't know, it just like it's not hard to fathom how they got there. It's just like, how do you let it get this far? I do want to kind of take things in a circle for a second, hit the reverse, ghost ride your
Yeah.
whip somewhere. Now we're getting kind of cringy. I'm sorry, but like this, like the Ayuk contract in itself, like the initial signing of the extension, $30 million a year, 4 years, $120 million, a crap load of guarantees. I don't know if fans realize, albeit it may not be like the direct reason, but it certainly feels like the catalyst for the need to have the reset season. Like, yeah, there's dead cap money, and yes, so much goes into that. It's not just Brandon Aiyuk, but if San Francisco never signs the Ayuk extension, do they actually have to have a reset season this year?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
Like that
And
was the
they've gotten a ton
downfall
of
of the
that money
window.
back. They've gotten a bunch of it back. And to me, this is a win for San Francisco. He obviously didn't want to be here anymore. Brandon Aiyuk wanted to go somewhere else. How they came to the decision of, okay, we're going to avoid your contract because you screwed up on these, on not showing up to this, that, and the other thing, I don't know. But the Niners struck gold with this in recouping over the next 3 years $85 million, saving $26 million next season, and not having to pay Brandon Aiyuk. That frees up so much room on the salary cap. So now the question is, with the money that they've saved from Brandon Aiyuk going into this offseason, what does San Francisco do with that money? Now, look, most people would say, well, if you save money, you save it and put it in savings. When you're an organization like the Niners, you got to spend that money, baby. Like, you got to bring somebody in here. And I think the Niners are going to go out. Do you think they will go out and get a defensive player or another offensive player? Or will they just spread the money around to different areas?
Well, it's a good point, and I'll look up the impending free agents next year. Let's see who's out there. San Francisco actually wants to spend some big money, or, theoretically, I know a lot of like, I hate to get there, but you really want Trey Hendrickson.
There you go. You read my
And
mind. I was thinking that too. I was like, man, I'd be like, how much do you want, buddy?
now I don't
got
think they'll
26
make
big
that.
ones.
I don't think they'll actually make that deal. I don't think Trey Hendrickson's coming
No.
to San Francisco, but Joey Bosa's been healthy. He's a free agent after the season. Maybe you finally bring him to San Francisco, I believe. Maybe you go out there and you bring maybe you go out and bring somebody else back. I don't know. Like there isn't too many guys. Now you can't forget that San Francisco is trying to maintain holdover cap, hence why they didn't pay for a big guy at the trade deadline on top of wanting to get rid of their picks. Like this could, while yes, make them eager to spend more, which you hope that's the case for a team trying to reopen the window. But on top of that, they could also say, whoa, we can make a profit now, whereas we couldn't do that before. Because you're paying Purdy's contract and McCaffrey's contract and Bosa's contract, all those things escalate in the next couple of seasons. They can now be, yes, more equipped to go into free agency and buy, but also maybe more reluctant now knowing that millionaires can make some more money because I use contracts off the book. And I would hate that. Maybe you go out there and, like I say, pay for Trey Hendrickson. Maybe you go out there and buy Kyle Pitts. I don't see him spending back-to-back years.
Kyle Pitts would be cool, but
I don't see him spending 2
I'm
years
telling you right now,
on tight ends.
The amount of reports and attention the Niners put on Trey Hendrickson, I would not be shocked if they went out and got him and retained Bryce Huff, even though they might say goodbye, Bryce Huff. But let's say they retained
Bryce Huff. He's been too good.
They've retained Bryce Huff. They got Michael Williams. They have CJ West. They have Alfred Collins, and they're getting back Nick Bosa. And now you go into the draft and you go, okay, we know with our first round, second round, we're probably going to draft a receiver, one of those two picks. You have an opportunity to add more depth to your defensive line through the draft. Khalil Mack, come on, he's like a little my dad.
I mean, at that point, just go out there and sign Jalen Phillips. Yeah, the whole fan base is like, "Oh, Philadelphia got him. Why didn't we get him?" Well, you can go sign him in the offseason.
You can. I don't see him on here though.
I have
He's right there.
I have a tricky feeling that San Francisco's first 2 picks in the draft are going to be, in some order, a wide receiver and an interior defensive tackle. That's my assumption.
Yeah.
And I know we talked earlier today on the Cover 3 podcast, exclusively on YouTube on Fridays,
Woo!
that the Niners don't really have many holes. And I'm looking around like, not to say the free agency class is bad, and obviously things will change as
I
the years go
mean,
on. Like, maybe you want to get a center, Cade Mays in Carolina. I don't know what he looks like and everything, but like he's a free agent after the season. He hasn't had a great year, but couldn't be worse than Jake Brendel in my opinion. Like it doesn't seem like there's too many guys out there you like. You got to re-sign Brian Robinson too. Don't forget that, I believe. So it's like maybe you go out there and
no.
sign Brees Hall, having a great season. I don't know.
I
Like
don't think they sign Brian Robinson. I think B-Rob is gone after the season because look, I
wow.
mean, they already invested draft capital in Jordan James, and the guy's inactive.
Yeah, that's why you signed Brian Robinson back.
I think that's why they traded for him. They're like, "Fuck, this guy's not what we thought he was.
Right.
Let's get more of a for sure thing." But I don't think Brian Robinson wants to be a backup. I think he wants to be a starter somewhere, and he may get the opportunity to do that somewhere else. I'm not sure. I'd love for him to stay with us, but Joey Bosa could be a guy they look at.
Yeah.
I think, like you said, Jalen Phillips is a guy they will definitely take a look at. I know that they were talking with them about trading for him. Hassan Reddick, but he's going to be closer to 32. I don't know if you want to go that route.
Not a scheme fit.
Not a scheme fit.
Not a fan of that guy.
I know what everyone's going to say. Of course you're going to say that, Dre. I still believe that this offseason they will at least kick the tires, as Brian Sabian would say, on Trey Hendrickson. Because if you get Trey Hendrickson, now you don't have to spend your early draft picks on an edge rusher. You got 4 of them, or 3 of them.
You know what I want now?
What
I really want is for them to kind of, not to say F those draft picks, but just like if you want to get really ballsy and you have some money free now, hey Cleveland, you want Mac Jones and 2 first-round draft picks and whatever else? Give me Myles Garrett, man.
Yeah, I'll give you Mac Jones, my first-round pick, my second-round pick, and a future first-round pick. Yeah. Come on, let's do this. I mean, they want more than that, though.
Brandon Aiyuk's guaranteed voided money for Myles Garrett.
But that's the thing is that they've known this. They've known that they were going to be out of this contract since before the trade deadline. So it's crazy.
Do you think? Okay, so trade deadline. I've heard some fans on social media talk about they've had some frustration knowing San Francisco had the money to acquire a piece of the deadline. With Brandon Aiyuk now, his contract for his guarantees being voided over the next 3 seasons or so, mainly next year. Fans are like, why didn't you make a deal? You had the cash. Go out there and spend. And I think a lot of that is because they didn't want to lose draft picks, but you were one advocating. Go out there and get your guy. Hendrickson, Phillips, somebody. Go out there and pay for Kayvon Thibodeau. Go out there and pay for Jermaine Johnson. Pay it for those guys and whatnot. Does that make you more frustrated that they knew Brandon Aiyuk's contract was off the books and didn't go make a deal?
Yeah, because I would have been like, hey, look. And look, I don't know what was said, obviously, but if I'm John Lynch, I'm like, bro, I will trade you. I would trade for Trey Hendrickson, and then Trey, I'm going to offer you all the money I was paying Brandon Aiyuk. I'm going to offer you a fat contract right now, knowing that I'm going to be out from underneath this rock of known as Brandon Aiyuk contract. I would have tried to re-sign him. And maybe he didn't want to. Maybe he was like, you know what? If I get traded, I'm not re-signing with anybody. No contract extension. Who knows? We don't know what the terms were for these players, but I would have been like, hey, look, if I have this kind of money, whoever I'm trading for, maybe Jalen Phillips, maybe Trey Hendrickson, I want to trade and I want to sign an extension.
Okay. Let me ask you this. With how things have ended or essentially ended with Brandon Aiyuk's tenure going to eventually end during the offseason, let's play the hypothetical game, for example, or for a second. Do you think, albeit you won't get much back in return, do you think there is a team, knowing that Aiyuk doesn't have the guaranteed money in his contract anymore, and maybe there's a provision in the deal that if he gets traded, it goes back on. I have no idea. I didn't redo the deal. But do you think a team might be really eager to get Brandon Aiyuk in the room and would actually give you something back in return? Like, like let's say the contenders or suitors for him that we've listed,
Mhm.
maybe the Steelers, maybe it's the Commanders, maybe it's the Raiders, maybe it's the Bills, the Chargers. Let's say it's those 5 teams. Do you think one of those teams would give you a 6th round draft pick or a 7th round draft pick to sweeten the pot and say, hey, you let us have the first crack at him over somebody else? Like, I know we're sitting here, like, the release is likely that makes the most sense. It's the most logical outcome here, but like, could a trade still happen in a perfect world that a team
Well,
wants to jump somebody for him?
but that's the thing. Like, wouldn't he be a what do you call it? A June 1st designation?
I don't know exactly what it
I
would
don't know how
be
that.
in
See,
regards to the
now it
void
just sounds stupid.
redone.
I'm over here. I'm just saying shit.
Now we're a bunch of idiots.
I know. Damn it, we're losing viewers. No, but but if there was a way to trade him, and you get any kind of compensation back, you make that trade. I think you make that trade because
Oh, you take whatever you can get.
whatever you can get, I'll give you a 5th round pick. Done. I'll give you a 7th round pick. Done. Yeah. Whoever had the highest pick, got it.
I actually think any deal for Brandon Aiyuk would be, if you're going to make a trade, you wouldn't see the compensation until 2027.
Yeah, but how does that work if his contract is void? What are you trading? Just the rights to the player? I don't. I'm not a contract guy.
Well,
I'm not sure how that works.
The contract is not void. The guarantees are void. That's the difference.
So nothing is
he's
guaranteed.
He's under contract for the next 4 years. It's just not guaranteed.
So, but yeah, that means that we're not paying him for the next 4 years, or just
The
not paying
guaranteed
him
salary, yes.
the guaranteed money. We're still paying him some money.
There's always some wrinkles involved in there. You are paying Ayuk still in some form or fashion, whether you trade him or release him anyways. It's just you're kind of freeing yourself from the need to guarantee the contract or the money to him. But like,
That's wild,
I think about
dude.
it and like,
That's so wild.
like, but if I'm the Bills and I want to maximize Josh Allen's window and I don't want to pay big money for a wide receiver, why wouldn't you give up a 6th round draft pick in 2027 for Brandon Aiyuk and just see if it works out? I would do it in a heartbeat. Like,
oh yeah,
I would do it the minute the season's over. Okay, here, take it. Like, why wouldn't you do that deal?
I think if that is a possibility, I think they definitely would, because we had the same situation with Deebo Samuel. Remember, he was still under contract, but they traded him to the Commanders.
Yeah,
and I hope. I mean, I bet you Deebo thought, oh, they get the first crack at trying to re-sign me, and they're like, we're just going to make you play out the rest of your contract. And now he's been hurt more than half the year and off and on, and he hasn't really produced much. Fumbled the ball, or he dropped the ball after it bounced off his head. I'm pretty sure Deebo Samuel's gone after this season. So,
yeah, I would still lean towards Ayuk replacing Deebo Samuel in Washington. I also don't think that, like, what's crazy is like Ayuk has no leverage now.
nothing.
Like, if Ayuk was getting paid big money, he'd have some leverage in some aspects. But like, they can just trade him, and I don't think Ayuk has a full no trade clause, but they can just trade him anywhere and be like, "F it." Like, there's no, like, we don't have any connection to you. You don't want to play here. Mike Silver even said Ayuk does not want to ever play for the 49ers again. It's like, trade him anywhere. Good riddance, brother. You threw a fit. You didn't go to team meetings. Yeah, San Francisco blew it in some aspects, but it's like, you're acting like a child. Like, Brandon Aiyuk has acted like a child for almost over a year. Like, give me a 7th-round draft pick and go play with Shadur Sanders in Cleveland. Goodbye. Like, goodbye.
Goodbye. Just see you later. And we'll see what happens with San Francisco and the Brandon Aiyuk saga. There still might be one last page to turn, which is, are they still able to trade him this offseason? If not, sayonara. Thanks for the memories. And thanks for letting us save all that money.
Yeah, it certainly does suck. Dre, I'll ask you one last question and we'll dip out of here on a Friday night. Who looks worse, Ayuk or the 49ers?
Brandon Aiyuk,
Okay.
without a doubt.
Okay.
Because most people would say, why would you turn down all that money?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you use that as leverage? Why wouldn't you ask for a trade? Why wouldn't you try to come back and showcase your talents? And why weren't you attending team meetings? What the fuck is going on? To me, is it dumb on the Niners for signing him to that contract? Yeah, but a lot of teams sign players to bad contracts. But for the player to do what he did doesn't make any sense. It doesn't look very intelligent on what he did. So I would say it's on him.
I would concur and I would agree with you. I think San Francisco's silver lining is they have learned from the botched Brandon Ayuk deal. Does it suck to lose BA? And the last remnants of his tenure is simply him getting his knee destroyed. That really, really stinks, but there are good memories involved. But what once looked like a promising budding career of the next great San Francisco 49ers receiver has come crashing down
Yep.
on November 21st, just about, I don't know, a week away from Thanksgiving in 2025. What a bummer. But in some aspects, what a great gift for San Francisco to kick off the holiday season, saving some money and hopefully paying some free agents in the next couple of years. But we have dug deep under every rock, every hole. We have dug all the way through the Earth's core to find out what is happening and trying to understand every single piece and part of the Brandon Aiyuk saga. We gave you a full timeline, and we've tried to sift through the multiple conflicting reports by everything out there regarding Brandon Ayuk's future and now the voiding of his contract and guarantees heading forward in 2025 through 2026. But that's all we have for you today. Dre, tell the kind folks at home and on the road on their holiday trips for Thanksgiving, where can they find you on YouTube and the audio podcasting platforms?
You can find me right here over at YouTube at Dre Area Sports. You can also find me at Dre Area Sports on X, Instagram, and Facebook. I have a Patreon set up, and if you want, just go to my website, which is dreareasports.com, and there are memberships available under the Dre Area Sports channel. That's the best way to support the channel. And the easiest way to support the channel is to just go to my channel on YouTube, Dre Area Sports, and hit subscribe. And I appreciate everyone who has subscribed and everyone who supports the channel. And that's where you can find me and all my content. I'll be live again tomorrow night with my good buddy Tyler LaRocca going over the same topic of Brandon Aiyuk and what it means for the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, it's great stuff from you, Drew. Great to have you on here on a Friday night. You can also follow us on social media at 49ers_access is the X, 49ers.access is the Instagram. You can use our promo code 49ersaccess, 49 ERSACCESS at SeatGeek.com and save yourself $20 off your first purchase. Although I can't refund your Brandon Aiyuk jersey, I can give you $20 off Niner tickets this season, and hopefully you can spend some money on your pops or your wife or your friends and get them out there to Levi Stadium to watch your 2025 San Francisco 49ers this year. That said, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave the 5-star audio podcast review, and as always, my name is Sterling Bennett. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy Monday Night Football, Niners versus Panthers. Enjoy the breaking Brandon Aiyuk news and all that comes with it. And until next time, stay faithful.